I told you so. I told you so are the words that CEO of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s promotion company, Leonard Ellerbe, should be throwing into the air at Terence Crawford and everybody involved, with Terence Crawford being stripped of the IBF title. As you know, Terence Bud Crawford is no longer the undisputed champion of the world because he had his IBF title stripped and given to Jaron Boots Ennis, who is now a world champion. And there's all kind of reactions out there in the boxing world to it. Email champ, this is bad. How could they do it? We don't understand it. But if you just would have listened to Leonard Ellerbe, he sat in a chair a while ago and let you know all the information that you needed to know for why this was going to happen. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We are going to be in the 147-pound division where we have a new champion. And we have in the second weight division in a short order that has lost their undisputed title holder. The first was at 135, where Devin Haney drops his 135-pound title, is no longer the undisputed champion of the world. And the second now is Terence Bud Crawford, the best fighter in all of boxing. Very hard to say that he's not, who is no longer the undisputed champion at 147. He, however, was stripped. But the question is, why was he stripped? And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, before I get into it, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. It really makes a big difference to the channel. Matty, you're my guy. Thank you, Barbara D. Thank you to everybody that supports. Thank my guy, Big Dog Willie and Stone Alone, and all the other supporters on the channel and channel members that joined the channel. Thank you guys for your support. But let's get into this, man, because, hey, man, I am going to be playing the world's smallest violin for Terence Crawford being stripped of his IBF title. Now, why do I say that? Because Terence Crawford brought it on himself with the way that Terence Crawford behaved, or the things that he said after he won the title. People are going to, and there's somebody that said it very clearly in the media, and his name is Leonard Ellerbe, of the CEO of Mayweather Promotions. And let me remind you what he said, what Terence said, what Leonard Ellerbe said, and how this separates what happens with Terence Crawford from what happened with, let's say, for why Errol Spence was not stripped of the IBF for not defending his mandatory. Because that is what's being said. Well, why wasn't Errol Spence Jr. stripped? Why was Terence Crawford stripped? My eyes, it's very obvious. Right after Terence Crawford won the championship of the fight against Errol Spence and became the IBF champion, became the WBA champion, became the WBC champion, along with his WBO championship, he let it be known, a big fact, that he was not going to fight anybody at 147. It came out of his mouth. He said he would not fight Danny Garcia. He would not fight Keith Thurman. He said that he was not looking to fight Jaron Ennis, who is the mandatory for the IBF title. He said wasn't interested in it. He was trying to make a fight with Canelo Alvarez, trying to make a fight with Jaron Ennis, with Jermell Charlo. Leonard Ellerbe, for his part, said in an interview that Terence Crawford should not be cutting off all of these options and limiting his options. He said, I really like how Terence Crawford is being more outspoken, and that's a really good thing. I'm not hating on him, but look, man, some of these options you think may be available may not be available. But the portion of what he said that I believe is relevant to this is that Terence Crawford should not have been cutting off all the options. Now, just to pose that against why they didn't strip Errol Spence Jr. First, Errol Spence Jr. did defend his IBF several years ago, an IBF title, his title against the mandatory Carlos Ocampo several years ago. But he also then went to unifying belts in the weight division, unified the IBF with the WBC. Then he unified the WBC with the WBA. And then after that, he was very set on unifying all four of the belts, which is what the sanctioning body said that their priority is. So they were saying he was attempting to do things that were going to combine all of the belts. So you take that and say, well, what is the difference between Errol and Terence? The difference between Errol and Terence is Errol never said that he would not fight the mandatory for the IBF, and he would not fight the top guy in the WBC, and he would not fight the top guy in the WBA. He didn't say that I'm the undisputed champion. If I hold these three belts, I'm not going to fight anybody. Bud Crawford basically said he wasn't going to be in the weight division anymore. So what do you expect the IBF to do? The IBF to sit there and say, hey, no, I'm not. Oh, well, we're just going to wait, even though the man said he's not going to do it, made it very, very clear that he's not going to do it. No, you say, okay, well, you're not going to do it. Give me the belt back. No need to waste ordering the fight. Well, let me order the fight. And actually, I do believe they said that they ordered the fight. Bud is not going to take the fight. So he got stripped because he says he wasn't going to do it. That is not anybody else's fault but Bud Crawford's. And it may not even be Bud Crawford's fault if he doesn't intend to defend him. Because for him, he may very well be out there like, look, man, it doesn't make a difference. I wasn't going to defend that belt anyway. But you can't get upset at the IBF for doing it. Then if Bud wanted to keep it for a longer period of time, then Bud should have said, hey, man, as soon as I get done with this Errol fight, I'm going to fight my mandatories. And then if he decided not to do it after that, drop the belt, right? He probably would have got a pass on that. But once that IBF, once the Errol Spence Jr. fight was going to be at 154 pounds, the IBF has to move on and let these other fighters have a chance. You also have to consider that the reason that both Errol and Terence are connected to the reason why Jaron Ennis hasn't been able to get a title shot in several years, because they were negotiating a fight with one another. And a lot of that delay and the time it took to get that fight done was on Bud. So people don't make decisions in vacuums. The IBF doesn't make a decision in a vacuum and just, let me look at the rule. I don't know what's going on in the real world. They're going to look in the real world and say, look, man, we've been holding off guys in our division, Jaron Ennis specifically, for a couple years now. And Terence is not fighting at 147 in the next fight. And he said he's not going to fight him. So look, man, we just got to push it. We got to keep it moving. And we'll do business with Terence Crawford at 154 if he winds up getting his hands on the IBF title at 154 pounds. But anyway, man, people out here trying to get on the IBF for this or trying to compare it to Errol Spence, man, that's apples and oranges. But at the same time, they're both fruit in the same bowl. So they're looking at the entire cornucopia of nonsense and delays that have been coming out of that 147-pound division for several years, which was held up trying to make the fight with Errol and Terence, which now is no longer going to be in that division. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.